Today on the Topping Show, Matt Walsh is attacked for distinguishing between friends and enemies. Our culture continues to be ripped apart as people break apart over the Charlie Kirk assassination. Dearborn, Michigan Mayor Abdullah tells a resident that he is islamophobic and will celebrate when he leaves. Nissan is shutting down some of the design studios as they continue to try to cut cost. And Honey Nut Oat cereal is being recalled. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see our founder at least twice a day. Guy says he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase, with Picatinny rail adapters to mount it to any standard AR-15, like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends and your enemies, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, Nissan continues to try to cut costs and remain afloat, this time by, well, shutting down some of their studios. Now, this brought to us thanks to thedrive.com, specifically Andrew Collins, who's a contributor over there. And, well, maybe I should put a visual disclaimer because you're going to see some Nissan products on the screen here, which usually aren't great. But nevertheless, this concept looks kind of cool. They say, quote, Nissan is gutting its design team. Nissan is closing its San Diego design studio and reducing its international design office footprint early by next year. And you can see, well, perhaps an amalgamation of what could have been the Nissan 300Z before it went to production. That is the first thing that picture reminded me of for this little sketch, which you tell is old school just by that little marker there, which, again, it looks pretty cool. But yeah, Nissan is losing billions, so they need to try to cut cost anywhere they can. And let's be honest, people are buying a Nissan Altima because of Nissan credit, not because of how it necessarily looks. Now, in all seriousness, again, credited to writer over there at thedrive.com, Andrew Collins. They say, quote, Nissan's global design chief, Alfonso Abiasa, confirmed to Automotive News that the automaker is closing its design studios in San Diego, California, and Sao Paulo, Brazil, next year while scaling back design operations in Japan and the UK. He spun it as streamlining, but it sounds pretty drastic, circling the wagons situation for a major car company. They say that Nissan's financial troubles and large-scale layoffs have been discussed a few times this year. The company already confirmed that it's closing factories and reducing headcount by a whopping 20,000 employees in the very near future. I mean, it's actually worse than what they say in the article in terms of the factory shutdowns. Now, again, it's going to take, I believe, 48 months was the timeline, but they're actually closing a little more than half. I think they'll have 10 factories remaining. It's quite concerning how many they're shutting down. Now, they say Automotive News reported that Nissan's Chinese design office in Shanghai has proven itself to be considerably more productive than its counterparts around the world. Well, yeah, also probably a lot cheaper because, again, Shanghai. Now, they say that, quote, they say employees there turn out designs with 30 to 40% reduction in hours compared to Nissan studios elsewhere in the world. This is paraphrased by Abasia, which, yeah, I'm not surprised. In other words, this is kind of cool. I'll bring up, the older Nissan studio right there. They say, in other words, the company's looking to do more with less. On the one hand, less bureaucracy could indeed yield quicker car production. I personally am somewhat skeptical that quicker would mean better, but what the hell do I know? I guess if AI can do it a million first drafts in seconds, fewer people involved in the car design makes sense. While dust settles, Nissan San Diego and San Paulo shops are supposed to be closed by March 2026. The automaker's design operations will be run out of its global design center and Creative Box Studio in Japan, Studio 6 in Los Angeles, Nissan Design in Europe, and of course Nissan Design Shanghai. They say it all comes back to Nissan CEO Ivan Espinosa's plan to bring the car brand's development cycle from 52 months to 37 months, which, yeah, that'd be pretty damn impressive. And again, that's just a whole process in which, come up with a design for a car, they actually sketch it out, make a actually prototype, and then the very, very, very difficult manufacturing process of going from prototype to actually in production, where again, these cars have between 10 and 30,000 parts. It's one of the most complex things out there. Now, they say the next generation cycle also wants to go from 48 months to 30 months. From our perspective as consumers, that means we should expect Nissan to incorporate trendy features into models more quickly, which, again, Nissan's spinning the tires, pun moderately intended, trying to think, how can we save the company? People, again, some people might want some gimmicks and flashy new doodads on the dashboard, but there's one thing you could do: make a bulletproof, reliable vehicle. That's what they used to do decades ago. Again, the thing that really killed Nissan, in my opinion, is the Nissan Altima CTV transmissions. Or CVT, yeah, I can't pronounce things today. That's why you had to click the subscribe button so I could speak perfectly someday. But in all seriousness, that crap automatic transmission grenaded itself, like from once you got about 30,000 miles under that SOB. And yeah, no one thinks Nissan is reliable anymore. Now, you also say apparently the upcoming Infiniti Q50 is the first vehicle to be drawn up with a new compression timeline, which, again, that should be cool. That car, which is supposedly shipping with a twin turbo engine with a manual transmission, has a lot of promise for us US car dorks, which, yes, like me, that'd be awesome. Make Nissan exciting again and reliable. Again, if they could do those two things at an economic price point, they may very well have a chance of survival. Again, they have tough competition. Now they say, while many stories about Nissan's corporate operations, including this one, have trended a little depressing, I have to say that company is putting out some compelling products right now. The new Z is gorgeous. The new Leaf, well, he says this, the new Leaf is a huge upgrade from its predecessors. Yeah. The current Frontier is my favorite mid-size pickup truck on the market, and even the humble entry Kicks have an appealing design. Here's to hoping they can maintain momentum with a leaner crew, which, yeah, I mean, maybe. And again, with this type of company, they're by no means large in comparison to like Toyota, which is the largest and most successful automaker on the planet right now, and has been for a couple of years. Again, there could be some benefits of consolidation of designs, also bringing designs closer to manufacturer points. A lot of people say that one of the reasons Boeing went down in quality was there's a big disconnect from the design team, from the finance team to the manufacturer team. They're spread out all over the United States. Only recently did they actually change the headquarters to be by actually one of the production sites. With Nissan, though, again, they need to do these changes as quickly as possible. I really hope they don't focus too much on gimmicks and short-term trendy things that consumers might like for accessories and doodads and knickknacks. Because again, what Nissan really needs is reliability. They need a car that will actually last more than 50,000 miles. And again, it's one of those things where the competition is fierce. Now, obviously, you're not going to buy Ford. They've had over 100 recalls, though it's impressive. People, from a business perspective, people keep buying that stuff. But in terms of Nissan, I mean, the competition for them, if you want to consolidate to traditional Japanese companies, I mean, Nissan was always better than Mitsubishi. That bar's pretty low. Though again, the Lancer Evo is pretty dope, as the youth might say. But you also have Honda and Toyota, which again, when I was looking at new cars or looking at a car that I needed to buy, I thought had to be fun, sporty, and reliable. I was looking at the Ford Focus ST. That's a great bang for buck. It had 50 more foot-pound of torque and I think 45 more horsepower than my Honda. But I chose, and I even drove more fun. The Nissan, the Ford Focus ST is awesome. Great, fun car. But it's not as reliable. So I chose the Honda Civic Si, which I love that little coupe. I love her. 205 horsepower. It's not that much, but it feels great in the corners when you downshift. I chose Honda over Nissan. I mean, it's just more reliable. And for me, more versatile since, again, the Honda Civic Coupe can fit a bunch of stuff in there. You can fold down the back seats. For me, it's the best all-around car. I thought about getting a Nissan, like a used Nissan 350Z was the older one. Then you had 360Z. Now the modern Nissan Z. And one of my number one concerns was one that was, I think it was $8,000 more than my Honda. I couldn't afford it. But also just reliability. Nissan has lost the trust of pretty much every consumer for having so many recalls. And the only reason I think they're still around barely is because of Nissan credit, which again, if you have a Pulse, they'll give you a car. There's high propensity that it'll be recalled, but again, Nissan credit will get damn near anyone approved for one of their vehicles. So I think that's how they survived past 5-10 years, if we're perfectly honest with each other. And it sucks because a lot of these designers have made some, beautiful vehicles throughout the years. But I do think there'll be a benefit to the consumer in terms of, they'll streamline the operations. I mean, they need to make better, reliable vehicles as quickly as possible. Now, again, they have billions in the bank. It's not like they're going to be out of business by the time I finish this video. But again, to make new cars, they say, take years. And they really need to do as much as they can with as little as they can. And even then, I think it's going to be a Hail Mary touchdown pass if they can pull this off. But let me know in the comments. I mean, the last person I know who bought a Nissan, well, everyone has one of those weird friends who buys one willingly. But a friend bought a Nissan truck because he didn't want to pay a premium for an American truck brand or Toyota Tundra. And he liked it. It's pretty good. But besides that, everyone I know who got Nissans got the Nissan Altima, got BAE Energy. But it's because their credit wasn't the best. They needed a good car. They wanted a new one, so they went with Nissan. I don't know a lot of people who willingly go up and say, I'm going to buy a Nissan today, with so many great competitors on the market. So again, I hope they make it. I'm a little bit skeptical, but let me know your thoughts and comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the Cultural Pod podcast, you have Matt Walsh being roasted online for, well, distinguishing between friends and enemies. Now, it's also Matt Walsh responding to Jordan Henry. And actually, without too much further ado, I'll just hear it straight from the horse's mouth. If the horse were to, wear flannel.
That if I walk out of this building and I get killed, that every conservative, even the ones that I've feuded with, that they will not be happy about that. They will mourn that. They will mourn that, and the same if it happened to any of us. They'll mourn it. Even the people, the conservatives, didn't like us. But I also know that on the left, they won't share in that mourning for the most part. And so kind of the friend-enemy distinction is easy for me to see.
Well, they won't just not share in the morning, as we've seen from the Charlie Kirk assassination. They'll cheer. I mean, I guarantee you, leftists would cheer with glee if, heaven forbid, someone were to assassinate Matt Walsh. They would be exuberant. They'd make swag, votive candles for the assassin. They go all out.
The people who will mourn your death are your friends. The people who will dance on your grave and laugh in the face of your grieving wife are your enemies in this battle. And so that's where the unity needs to come.
Facts. Now, Matt Walsh is responding specifically to, again, Jordan Henry. Now, Jordan Henry says, quote, "For the second day in a row, Matt Walsh has explicitly made the friend-enemy distinction, a concept penned by Carl Schmitt, chief jurist of the Third Reich. And he does this in front of Ben Shapiro on the Charlie Kirk podcast. Let's give Matt the benefit, or he's going to continue the quote from Jordan. Let's give Matt the benefit of the doubt and assume he doesn't understand what he is saying or its origin. Flippant use of the friend-enemy distinction is extremely reckless and irresponsible. Matt loses credibility for not doing his due diligence in researching the concept. But if Matt is even understanding the superficial aspects of Carl Schmitt, then he knows that he's quoting not only a Nazi, but a major figure informing Hitler's philosophy and evil enterprise. More likely that this is a direct or thinly veiled attack on the fundamental liberal tenets of the Constitution, where we the people are sovereign. Instead, according to Schmitt, sovereign makes that existential distinction between friend and enemy in the political sphere. And the sovereignty is not going to be with you, the people. It will be your infallible leader, the governor, who has total authority. If you're an American patriot, you must understand what he is saying here. And it's your balls, Matt has to do this in front of Ben Shapiro. And he actually hashtags Michael Knowles, Andrew Clay, and Ben Shapiro. Do not allow this emotional turmoil. We are all in to excuse its behavior from Matt. It's your due diligence to stand against authoritarianism in all form. Tell Matt, explain what he is doing, and if he is unapologetic, he's actually the enemy of freedom. That's what the leftist is saying, Jordan Henry. Now, Matt Walsh responded, saying, quote, "Wow, I didn't know that Nazis invented the idea of distinguishing between friends and enemies. Apparently, there were no enemies before the Nazis made up that idea. You're right, Jordan. I'm a Nazi because I think people who want me dead are enemies. Only Nazis would arrive at that conclusion. Great point. Thanks, man." Unquote. Which, obviously, Jordan Henry is a moron or mentally vacuous, as I more kindly say. I don't know. It's probably the same effect of insulting someone. But yeah, and he's saying, how dare you do this in front of Ben Shapiro, which is obviously, he is famously Jewish. And yeah, the idea that friends and enemies did not exist before the Third Reich. This is the most rudimentary, stupid argument, asinine argument, I would argue, I've heard in a while, which is saying something from leftists because they're so moronic to begin with. This is akin to saying you can never have water because did you know Hitler drank water? You own a dog? A dog like Hitler? Again, and he's saying that the Third Reich thought of friends and enemies. I'm pretty sure not to go too far back in time. I mean, pretty sure Cain and Abel probably, I mean, they were brothers, but probably enemies at the end when he killed one of them. In that last moment, when the rock was being used, apparently, I'm pretty sure the brother was like, oh yeah, you're an enemy. You're trying to kill me. You're certainly not my friend. Again, that winds back the clock many, many years. But yeah, to say that only the Nazis distinguish between friends and enemies is one of the dumbest things. I mean, winding back the clock, personally, the first time you hear that is perhaps bullies in school. They're certainly not your friends. They're physically and verbally abusing you. They're certainly not your friends. They're absolutely your enemies. And this went pretty viral. Got about 937,000 views and 26,000 likes. One of the first comments comes to us thanks to the quartering. He says, quote, I don't know if you know this, Matt, but Hitler also drank water, getting 1.2 thousand likes. Which I say, and had a dog, getting 3 likes. Ryan Vong has a picture of a liberal because he has short purple hair. Shows them crying over the Sydney Sweeney jeans commercial. Then shows they're exuberant and happy when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, which is fact check true, getting 370 likes. The Topping Show, me, says, quote, thanks to the left, insults like Nazi have lost all meaning, getting 4 likes, which, yes, fact check true. I want to say about a decade ago, everyone was, their bones, they would just be scared to the death of that accusation. Because again, no one of sanity would say that they like racist. I mean, they're obviously immoral. You could also argue made them evil. And again, there's like 3 real ones out there in terms of what do you traditionally consider that? Well, no, actually, no, there's many out there. They're just called Democrats. They hate white people. But in all seriousness, they've used that word so often in the past 10 years, it's lost all meaning, which again is not good because when real racists show up, no one will believe them. It's the age-old story of the boy who cried wolf. Though, because as a Democrat, you probably consider they're probably dressed up as a wolf, though, of course, I don't judge. Now, you also have Amelia Henderson, who says, quote, how to prevent future pandemics is just, oh yeah, Bill Gates, Fauci, and Charles Schwab getting 52 likes. You have Exposed Big Pharma. Am I following him or not? Yeah, I am. 8,000 followers. Hashtag Pharmageddon24. Has a picture of a leftist girl with all the pins of all the causes and says, quote, the self-declared Nazi puncher about to explain why protesting a synagogue isn't anti-Semitic, getting 36 likes. Mag1775 says, quote, Matt's point is simple. You can't compromise with people actively trying to destroy America. You could call them out. You could fight back. That's not authoritarianism. It's survival. And if that offends your delicate ears, maybe politics aren't your battlefield. Getting 53 likes. Amelia Henderson also says, enemies existed when Spartans fought Persians, when Rome crashed with Carthage, when tribes defend their land long before the 20th century. Labeling self-defense as Nazi ideology is a delusion. Leftist tactic to disarm people while their own enemies sharpen their knives, getting 23 likes, which, yep. You also have Alex Grace, poor son of a bitch. He loves freedom, but he's born in Canada. Ugh. Imagine being born in a totalitarian hellhole as Canada, who can't even own a gun, with American freedom right there. It's so close. It's a shame. Well, I guess he does have Canadian whiskey, so that's something, I suppose. He says, quote, Matt steals the show once again with his flawless logic. I'm a huge fan, getting 7 likes. Email Strong says, the Soviets also had friends and enemies. How do we know you're not just applying active measures right now? Sarcasm, getting 61 likes. The conservative alternative says, quote, they really are following the meme. There's a leftist guy and says there are 6,000 genders, but 2 political positions, mine and Nazi, getting 580 likes. Mrs. B says, quote, in 2024, I found out how many people would celebrate someone murdering a president. In 2025, I found out how many people would celebrate murdering me, getting 547 likes. Miss B also says Aragon for Lord of the Rings and says, quote, me watching orcs get fired left and right for openly celebrating murder, getting 289 likes, which is also kind of funny that a lot of these leftist gals look like orcs, or debatably worse, some might argue. Let's see. PNW Conservative says, quote, Hitler Nazis also ate food, getting 24 likes. That's true. I also drove a Mercedes. Martin Denny says, everything I don't like is just the Nazis, a book for dickheads, getting 301 likes. Mrs. B also says, a quote by Mario Morello saying, quote, Sandy, thinking it's wrong to lose your job because of what you said is, but what you said is Charlie should lose his life for what he said. Okay, 168 likes. Viral Architect says, quote, wait for it. There's a picture compilation of Donald Trump drinking water, and then Hitler drinking water, then Donald Trump giving a thumbs up, Hitler giving a thumbs up, and then Donald Trump on a telephone and Hitler on a telephone. Game 39, let's make it 40 likes. Let's see here. I have the famous comic strip that's going viral from The Immortal. It has a teacher teaching children saying they're all Nazis. As mainstream media teaching people saying they're all Nazis. Then you have the concert. What is it? I was about to say athlete. Shows how much I know sporting and culture. It's a concert musician who says they're all Nazis. Green Day, anyone? And they have the guy with the rifle saying they're all Nazis because he's been brainwashed. That got 37 likes. let's see, not too many other contrarian statements here. A lot of people are pointing out that, oh yeah, Democrats also say there's 100 different genders, but yeah, in reality, there's actually, no, 2. But yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, saying, I mean, this is the first time I think, well, Republicans, in terms of like actually labeling people enemies, they've done it for a while. I think people are being a lot more open about it now. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, I want to go over losing friends over the Charlie Kirk assassination and letting you know you are not alone. And part of me is a little disappointed. Part of me is a little surprised. This happened to me on the Facebook, which I still use from time to time, though not well, obviously. People don't even know I have it. But in all seriousness, I posted just a little memorial about Charlie Kirk being passed away, or sorry, more accurately being assassinated. And yeah, a lot of people are vitriolic, to say the least. I'm not going to show my personal Facebook, but I'll show, I had basically a carbon copy I did on the YouTube. And all I said was, quote, "Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. He fought the good fight, educated more college kids than any teacher, and worked to bring light to dark areas and win hearts and minds. He's a big inspiration to many, including myself. He'll be missed, praying his family will be okay." And just a picture of Charlie Kirk saying, "Rest in peace," and it said the years he's alive. And yeah, that Facebook post, many of the comments were vitriol, to say the least. And I was surprised. I lost, they just unfriended me. They're still out there somewhere. But yeah, I'm thinking about maybe 3 to 5% of my friends. And some of them were so vitriolic angry, they actually made comments calling me a racist, a bigot, a fascist, basically every cliche leftist insult they can think of. Because I mourn the death of someone who stood up for Catholicism, someone who stood up for equal rights of everyone to have the freedom to debate their ideals, someone who stood up for American values. And they were all, I mean, those people were, I was surprised. Some of those people I knew for 20 plus years. Some people I knew since elementary school. And they were so pissed. You would have thought I insulted their mother. And I didn't make any comment about her weight, and I could have, because there's a lot of material to work with. I'm only trying to make somewhat make light in the dark situation. But this is where I want to let people know you're not alone. You're by no means, this isn't just happening to you or I. This is happening across the United States, which is concerning because it's the antithesis of what Charlie Kirk would have wanted. He wanted people to remain connected, have debates, have discussions, and see what best ideas brew to the surface. And yet, you can't force people to be your friend. You can, I mean, you could try to reach back out to them and add them to your Facebook, whatever social media you prefer. I won't recommend it. It's sad. Again, these are full-blown adults. Now, anecdotally, most of my friends are about in their 30s, some are a little bit older. They've had time to learn. They've had time to do the research. They've had time to form well-rounded opinions. Time to, ironically, these are the same people who brag about diversity, but if you don't have the same ideals, they unfriend you in a New York minute. Some of them simply did memes on my Facebook post saying bye. And spoiler, they unfriended you if you click that profile and it says it doesn't exist. So they just said, another one was sayonara, which at least the Moon was kind of funny. It was a Mexican. But yeah, I am concerned about our culture and our country in terms of people just literally breaking friendships, becoming more isolated. Now, the silver lining of this situation is there's a record number of people going to church, especially young men, forming new bonds, new friends. I would argue more authentic friends, more rational people. And I mean, more people are volunteering. I saw a record number of folks the past couple of weeks, especially. So there's obviously, there's a silver lining situation. There's some good, but I hope people don't feel bad that they are losing friends over this. And I would not acquiesce or change your mind. Charlie Kirk he was an exceptional man, exceptional husband, exceptional father. People who cheer for his death, I'm concerned they can never be reasoned with. I certainly, especially at the moment, wouldn't invest any time with them trying to change their mind. I would focus on the people who only read the headlines and maybe they could actually be educated about what Charlie Kirk stood for, what kind of an impact he was having. And maybe that's the main advice I have for people in their life is just ask people, do you read beyond the headline? mean, did you really know the person? Did you see 13-second clip taken out of context? I always tell folks, like, if you watch someone, I think a great parameter for getting to know someone, though obviously not perfect, watch a long format podcast interview with them. And I think, after about an hour, it gets harder for most people to bullshit people and kind of see more of the true character brewed at the surface. And I recommend that. And if you have folks that are on the fence who are, and if they just say, if you have a friend who goes, Charlie Kirk was evil, be like, why? Oh, he said one thing. It's like, well, he referenced a statistic. He noted that his goal is to change that statistic. He wants to make the world a better place. He had plans to do that, or he had, suggestions. You might not agree with those suggestions, but again, at least there was a conversation going about how we can make the world a better place in a myriad of different areas. But yeah, it's kind of and let me know in the comments. I appreciate the feedback as always. Someone said they wish I covered Matt Walsh less, which I cover him because I find him very interesting, but also it's one of the few videos that do get clicks on my channel, just to be honest. Or if you just look at the views of most videos, you'll see it's pretty obvious to say the least. I'm going to try to actually do more. I'm asking my friends right now who might be able to assist me with some street interviews, maybe put up some poster boards and do more of that, get conversations going. But just want to, again, appreciate everyone taking time to tune in and comment. Just want to let you know you're not alone. I mean, I'm surprised. Like, first couple days, lost a bunch of friends on the Facebook, and I lost even more. But again, it's not the end of the world. Keep the good people in your life even closer, form even better bonds, relationships. Try to do whatever you can to make a dent in the universe in a positive way. I mean, big fan of volunteering. Try to do that even more, even between working a couple jobs. And just know you're not weird. Well, maybe you are a little weird. I know, Lord knows I am. But you're not alone in people unfriending you or treating you poorly because they only know Charlie Kirk because of the headlines they read or because of what the mainstream media lied to them about. And I hope and pray they get they actually become informed someday. And maybe you can be a part of that, but don't feel bad. And just, I mean, I say it a lot, but I mean, truly do mean it. Just keep fighting the good fight. And let me know more feedback. I'm always trying to improve the show, improve myself. And just remember, you're not alone. Some of these people can be reasoned with. Some of them I worry are just beyond all hope, and they're literally cheering in the streets that someone was assassinated who all I want to do is have a conversation and make the world a better place. But let me hear your thoughts, because you know me, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have a Dearborn, Michigan mayor, Abdullah, telling a person they're islamophobic, and he's hoping they move. Now, this is brought to us thanks to, specifically, Aurora McClarthan, who's reposting End Wokeness. I just can't pronounce things. Now, End Wokeness says, quote, Dearborn Mayor Abdul Hamoud told a resident, you don't belong in this city. That's, let's see here, maximize on screen. Credit to Fox Local, which is somehow still in business. I'm actually pretty surprised.
Hezbollah.
Oh, let me pull this up really quick.
Hezbollah, bombed the embassy in Beirut, and including many Americans. So I just feel it's quite inappropriate.
You are an Islamophobe, and although you live here, I want you to know, as mayor, you are not welcome here. And the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city, because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence.
Yeah. Which, I mean, if you look at the demographics of Michigan, especially Dearborn, if you believe in separating people based on race, and religion, you could make the argument he no longer belongs. They have imported a lot of folks to Dearborn, Michigan, especially Somalians, and someplace like Minneapolis. And yeah, so you can say it went pretty viral, got 7.1 million views as well as 75,000 likes. Which again, Dearborn, very different. Now, this resident was actually opposing a street being named after pro-jihad, Mr. Osama Siblani? Osama Siblani, which is... That name's almost as dumb as having a name like Topping. Oh, wait. Oh, nevertheless, I partially digress. And again, with Michigan changing, I'm not surprised they want to name streets after him. I mean, look at Austin. They name streets after a communist. And people who have committed crimes against humanity, they have that in Austin, Texas, which I always would argue is the antithesis of what Texas stands for. But nevertheless, Yeah, I'm not surprised that this is happening in Michigan, especially Dearborn. I mean, so many thousands of Somalians and Islamic people of the Islamic faith have been flown in there the past couple of years, especially. And yeah, the mayor is more brazen than usual, telling him to can't wait for him to leave. And one of the first comments comes to us thanks to Elon Musk, who simply has the questioning emoji, getting 3.4 thousand likes. We also have Amelia Henderson, who says, quote, no Islamist should be allowed to hold office. And she has a meme ball, and it says, no communist or Islamist should be allowed to hold any office because they cannot pledge allegiance to the U.S. Constitution, getting 4.3 thousand likes. Valentina Gomez says, quote, I warned everyone, it's horrific to see states turning into big Islamic cesspools, either assimilate to American culture or go to your Sharia nation. I'm kidding. I probably know how to pronounce that properly, but I shan't. Sharia? Shavaya train? Wait. Shavaya? Is that the singer? I'm kidding. Gunther Eagleman says, quote, Michigan is falling, getting 1.5 thousand likes, which, well, yeah, it's been that way for decades. Crazy to think that, Detroit, Michigan was the third richest city on the planet at one point, back when American automobiles were very reliable and had over 70% of market share. Yeah, it has not been that way for a while. Dr. Shari says, quote, America is not a Muslim nation, it's a Christian nation. Islam is not compatible with Americans' values, getting 829 likes. Paul Zupa simply says, defund Michigan, this is ridiculous, getting 1.7 thousand likes. Which, yeah, in terms of what religion is spreading around the globe, Islam is trending, taking it over or everywhere. The conservative alternative says, quote, if you don't celebrate people who want to destroy America, you are, quote, checks notes, Islamophobic. You have that right. The clock is ticking, folks. Our country is being invaded by a hostile foreign culture, and we don't have much time left. And says immigration without assimilation is an invasion. Okay, 1,000 likes, which, well, yeah, what's Trump going to do? Again, Trump is, he promised you to deport millions upon millions. I find it a little disappointing ICE is not reporting those numbers as of this recording of this video. Probably not reporting those numbers because they're abysmally disappointed. Now, in terms of deporting Islamists or people of the Islamic faith, however you want to say it, I don't know what legal. Again, Valentina Gomez, she's an upcoming politician or aspiring politician, and she says she's going to deport all Islamists from Texas. Which, how? Again, a lot of them were imported here by Democrats. Some of them were actually immigrated here legally. And again, I think the United States, one of the reasons we are the best country on the planet, is because of our founding fathers, our Judeo-Christian values. But what legal mechanism would Valentina Gomez use to deport these people? She does not elaborate because I don't think there is a legal one. You used to be able to deport communists, which, not a bad idea. Maybe we do that again. But in terms of deporting people who are Islamic, what legal mechanism would you use? No Republican has said that. Republicans are pontificating all day long about this invasion and how our culture is being decimated and how Islamic values are in no way compatible with American values. Republicans are really good at writing angry letters and yelling at people in Capitol Hill without actually getting shit done. I don't know what legal mechanism they're planning on using. I can't think they're just using this to gather more favor before the midterms, perhaps. Now, you also have, let's see here, Dr. Shari saying, quote, interesting how all these foreigners have come here and have been giving all sorts of benefits. Then they seek out to turn the entire country into a socialist and communist nation. We need laws excluding immigrants from holding public office. They're not, these are not the same type of immigrants that came here 100 years ago. We had 188 likes, which, well, that is, I would say, very true. Now, I say very true for a couple reasons. When the United States was actually being built, hundreds of years ago, we desperately needed people to help build the country. At one point, there's so much land. Or Trump would say, back in the day, there was so much land, so much big, beautiful land that needed to actually be cultivated and harvested and actually, taken care of. Maybe someone with a wheel could take over. I don't think Trump said that precisely, but maybe it's something to that effect. Again, there's so much land back in the day. The government would give you land just to go settle parts of the United States. And we needed a massive labor force. The people who came here, they didn't get government handouts. They worked like hell. Even as recent, I would argue, as the 1950s and 60s, there really wasn't the government giving away as much free shit as they usually do. My family came here legally from Cuba. And it's an instance where the joke is they escaped Fidel Castro and communist Cuba to go to the one place on the planet worse than communist Cuba, Southside Detroit, which, yeah, it's actually a hellhole even back then. And again, back then, they didn't have many government handouts. They just worked like hell. They all got minimum wage jobs. They learned English. They didn't, I mean, you will never see a Cuban flag in America. Cuba's a shithole. Communism has destroyed the whole land. Even the cigars aren't good anymore because they don't properly cultivate the soil because, they have capitalism. But nevertheless, not to get too nuanced into what little industry remains there after the government destroyed everything. Again, my family came here with nothing. They learned English. They didn't even bring a Cuban flag here. They flew American flags. They got jobs, went to college, back when college was more affordable, and I would argue a good ROI. And they became doctors, lawyers, and architects and contributing members of society who are net benefits to society, not just because they don't commit crime, but, they pay taxes, which, well, granted, I'm not a fan of that, but they're not suckling at the teat that is the government. Not getting EBT cards, not getting SNAP cards, not getting free housing, free cell phones from the government. They contributed. They had kids. They helped out the community. I would argue they made the world a better place. They're also Catholic. So now, and we've seen it with every race and religion that comes to the United States, they're getting free cell phones, free room and board, cash, SNAP, EBT cards, and beyond, while taxpayers work like hell to barely keep afloat. I mean, that is a huge cultural shift. It's not just Islamics who are coming here. A lot of people are coming here getting all the free stuff while the people who work like hell can barely make ends meet. And again, that's been happening when Republicans and Democrats are both in office. Democrats have a pretty solid track record of giving away more of our more freebies away. But again, Trump it's the first day he got into office, he should have been, all right, I'm becoming president right now. What shall we do first? Maybe we'll abolish the income tax and the National Firearms Act of 1934, make Topping happy. Well, obviously he didn't. But maybe he could end of all the government benefits. If you're illegal, no more benefits. Taxpayers should get some benefit from paying taxes. They usually don't. Now, again, I think helping people who are down on their luck, who are American citizens, absolutely. I would argue the best way to do that is with your own private help as well as nonprofits. They've been infinitely more accurate than the government. Not saying much because government sucks. But yeah, we've seen a lack of assimilation. And you see more and more people getting free stuff. And we're $37 trillion in debt. We can't afford it anymore. There's not much upside. So again, Republicans are saying a lot of things. They got the control of the House, the Senate, the White House. They should end all these benefits today. Now, going back to the main comments section, you also have CZ. He has a pig emoji and a cross. Is that a cross? And he has a picture of a black cube and a bunch of people. It says, quote, approximately 85% of all the world's refugees are Muslims. They don't seek assimilation in the 56 Muslim countries. They only seek out asylum in non-Muslim countries. But why? Gained 1.8 thousand likes. This one got 12,000 likes. Liberty Chai says, quote, so Muslims are now kicking U.S. residents out of their cities because they're standing up against Islam. What the F happened to our country? Gained 12,000 likes, which, well, Democrats just imported a monumentous amount of Islamic people. And they got citizenship. They got on city councils. They're making laws and naming streets. The Immortal says, hates Jews, Christians, atheists, gays, dogs, bacon, wine, beer, your civilization, your culture, your traditions, your country new. Complains about Islamophobia. Getting 3.2 thousand likes, which I was going to say, I'm not a big fan of bacon. I'll eat it. Yeah, I think it's an overrated meat. People go crazy about that thing. But who doesn't like bacon? Like, who hates it? You also have Del Po Rebel. Says, turns out multiculturalism was a bad idea, getting 2.3 thousand likes. Well, the Sky has a vintage meme, or some people call them memes, more accurately, is all the Twilight Zone. And it says, quote, imagine a religion whose followers admit they want to kill you, but they say if you have a phobia, you have a phobia if you don't want to get killed, getting 2,000 likes. Jared Marsh says, toilet signs in Michigan. You have the ladies, which is just a triangle. They have gentlemen with the, I forget what apparel they wear. They got 847 likes. Dolly says, it's not phobia. I'm not afraid of you. Gained 579 likes. Band of Brothers has a quote from Charlie Kirk in 2022. It says, quote, there's an undeniable war on white people in the West. Getting 36, that got 36,000 likes. He did get 1.9 thousand likes now. Dan says, ironic because the mayor who doesn't belong here. Getting 1.3 thousand likes. And again, I suspect they'll probably name the street there. Let's see. A lot of people are saying that guy should sue the mayor for civil rights violation. Could be kicked. Let's see. But yeah, not too many contrarian statements here. But again, I'm not surprised. More and more. This will happen to more and more cities. And also, I mean, United States citizens, they're not having enough kids. The birth rate is going down dramatically. So I suspect we'll see more of this. But let me know your thoughts because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day of Honey Nut cereal being recalled. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Good Housekeeping, specifically Amanda Medicus. And she says, quote, check your pantry. This popular cereal has been recalled for metal contamination. Whoops. Now, again, credit to Amanda. You can see one pictures of that cereal there, which I was going to say, I used to be a fan of cereal as a kid. Then I realized, oh, yeah, it's mostly just sugar and chemicals and a little bit of grain. Now, she says, quote, if you want to start your day off on the right foot and plan to grab the nearest box of cereal in your pantry, it's smart to double check which one you just picked. The FDA recently issued a recall over 5,000 boxes of Post cereals. Honey bunches of oat and almonds were sold in 3-pound bags. The affected cereal includes foreign metal material and are distributed in both Colorado and California. As if you needed yet another reason not to live in California, they've got metal in their cereal. Not great. Now, they say, quote, the recall was recently updated to Class 2 recall, meaning that the consumption of the cereal could cause temporary or medical irreversible adverse health consequences. Silver lining in this situation, they got ahead of the recall. So, fortunately, no reports of illness or injury have been reported thus far. They say the affected honey bunches of oats and almond cereal have best use by dates of April 9th, 2026 and April 10th, 2026. UPC code 884912 014283, which I'm dyslexic probably, so I'll try to read that again. Just make sure. UPC is 884912 014283. While the FDA didn't state that what to do if you have a contaminated product at home, it's typically recommended to discard the cereal or return it to the patient's place of purchase, which, I mean, I know, I would argue, in part thanks to the Department of Education, people are getting dumber and dumber. But I assume, we maybe shouldn't assume. Maybe people need to be told, yes, don't throw this in the yard for like dogs and animals and critters and kids to eat. Probably want to throw this away or return it to your place of purchase to get some sort of refund. And again, this in a lot of mechanized society with all these machinery when it comes to actual production of a lot of foods these days, there's an issue where, again, some machines will break down. I suspect that is one of the reasons why you have some metallic flakes or something in here, which, again, you want your flakes frosted, not metallic, but that's just me. And again, it's one of those things where they should have a metal detector. Yeah, as silly as it sounds, you would want a metal detector in a cereal facility for instances just like this. Again, employees are human. People make mistakes. Maybe if you're leaning over in your cereal inspector, a pen falls out, something like that. It'd be a good rule of thumb to have more of these safety measures in place. And again, thankfully, no one's been hurt. But gotta say, Post cereals, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you can click that button. I really appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't get to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone, everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.